Hey there, welcome, and so glad you're here today. Standing up for yourself and owning your energy. That's what I'm going to talk about today. So, you think you're being a kind person, or you think that you're the chill person, or just that you're trying to be the nicest person in the world, or you're trying to be everything to everyone. But really, are you just abandoning yourself in the name of pleasing people? Today, in this video, what I'm going to talk to you about is why healers and empaths tend to struggle here with boundaries. And the moment that this shifted for me personally in my own life, and what all of this comes down to from what I have observed. So, welcome, and let's get right into this. So, I want to share first about my own experience and tie this into why healers and empaths are historically so notoriously bad with having boundaries or standing up for themselves. And it comes down to one thing, really. Uh, or, well, it comes down to a set of conditions. My mother, for me personally, like my biological mother, is someone who has traits of an undiagnosed borderline personality disorder. And BPD, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But growing up, in short, her moods were always very, very volatile as long as I can remember, since I was as little as I can remember. So my earliest survival strategies were to be extremely dialed in and attuned to her energy and her moods. Because when you are a kid, everything your parents do is important because they are literally your providers. They're your safety, your security, your nourishment, and everything. So being around her, who was always having all of these different mood swings and would get upset very easily. I learned at a very young age that I always had to constantly read the room to get my needs met. And that made me stay small. I had to play nice. The trauma that I went through taught me at that time that love was not something that I just got because it's my birthright, which, by the way, that's your birthright. It became something that I had to earn. And I earned it through abandoning myself. And programming reinforced that time and time again. That is why this stuff runs so freaking deep. But then it truly does affect everything about how you live your life. The little things are the big things. So that idea that my worth is tied to how much I could give to her or fix her emotions or the moods that she would have, like I felt responsible for that. So that got reinforced over and over and over again. it took a lot of work to uncover all of that and all of the layers of that later in life. For me, I actually thought that I had a happy childhood up until about probably age 28 or 27 when I was in therapy and making these big realizations for the first time and add all of that to the over identification of being a quote unquote helper or the person that brings the light. So to suddenly, every time that I had to say no to something that was not aligned to me in my best interest, it felt like I was betraying myself or I was betraying someone else by standing up for what I needed and what was in alignment for me. It felt like I was letting other people down because I learned to put other people's needs in front of my own. So that was always where I went, and it was so uncomfortable. True healing really requires that of you to be able to say no to things that are out of alignment as much as you're saying yes to what is in alignment for you. You have to have the boundaries, and that's not because you're building this wall and trying to keep everyone out, but it's actually because you are building the wholeness, the fullness of who you really are, your truth, your energy, your focus, your efforts. And you can't fully cultivate that if you're always constantly getting your energy drained from other sources around you. I remember when I was first getting into the healing arts, I had such a strong passion and fire to help other people, but I hadn't yet actually learned that. So when I first started, I was giving out so many free sessions, even though deep down, I knew that the work I did was so freaking valuable. And my time was so freaking valuable. My energy was so valuable. But I was not fully embodied yet in my highest version. I wasn't fully embodied yet in my boundaries. So that meant I was taking texts and calls from clients at different times of the day and night, even if I was in the middle of doing something. I would feel obligated to be there and to help them. Like I was going to let that other person down by not being right there. And I hadn't yet learned that actually having boundaries was the most loving thing that I could do for myself, but also for my clients as well. Because what ends up happening is if you don't have boundaries, you start to internalize resentment. So it's always better to pick the discomfort of just saying, that's not aligned for me, than to internalize all of that resentment because that lives as energy in your body that's obstructing your flow, that's obstructing the flow in your body, that is, um, yeah, it's going to come out at the most inopportune times because it's not able to be expressed in the moment by you saying what's true for you. And then you betray, and the reason for that is because you are betraying your own needs and what you want to do in order to please people. Not only does that not work, but it's also a good way to run yourself absolutely ragged. So I remember this happened for me in stages. Like I remember working with a coach, and one of the first ways that I started practicing having boundaries was I wouldn't respond to clients unless I was working that day and I was in my home office. That was at the time when I was only working from home. So my first iteration of boundaries looked like, okay, I'm only going to work when I'm at work in my work room. And that really helped my brain separate that out a little bit. So if I wasn't in that room, I wasn't at work. And then at that time, I started setting some boundaries that way. I turned the notifications off of my phone, Facebook Messenger, and I started really sitting with the discomfort of not responding back to them right away. And then that got easier and easier. But then I was still giving the energy away in other ways by not having boundaries in other areas. Like I would let people push my limits of what I could do or how much I took on. I would give these free sessions to people. I would give people huge discounts just because. And then I started learning that these are like the absolute worst clients that I didn't want to work with anyway if they didn't want to pay me for what I do. They aren't valuing me or seeing me or skillfully respecting me at that point. And there was still some fear there at that point where what if they don't like me or what if I upset them? But I kept moving in that direction. Then for a while, I kept getting into all of these collaborations with other healers. Like, I can't tell you how many. And even though I knew that I preferred to work alone, like, I prefer to work alone. I work better by myself, but I kept getting my energy entangled with other people, and that entangled my timelines with other people, which it ties energy up, it ties space up that flow can happen in and through. And that became a huge drain of my energy very, very subtly, but it was huge. And, think about this for a minute. Like, no one in your life is entitled to your time and energy. So, like, we have our cell phones now, but it wasn't always like that. Like, think about a few years ago how it was like, you would go out of the house, and if you were gone, you were gone. And you got home, you got the messages, you called people back. But today, people think, just because we have a phone in our pocket, that you're just readily available and you can talk right then. And so, like, more people need to wake up to this because everyone should have boundaries. Everyone should be in their authentic flow and do things that are aligned for them. And a lot of those timelines are collapsing now of this expectation or this way of feeling entitled to people's time. So I had these ups and downs and peaks and valleys because I would really do good when I was in my integrity and my flow states. But I would fall back inevitably because my energy was getting siphoned on projects that didn't resonate with me. Just because someone else invited me, I would think, oh, well, I really don't want to let them down. Like, I can't let them down. But then I was letting me down. Let me tell you something real here. Let people down. Figure out what it is that feels good and feels expansive for you, feels growth inducing for you, and then don't accept anything less than that. And no one else gets to tell you what that is either. Stand up for yourself and just speak what is true for you. Who cares what other people think? Are these people paying your bills? Are they really, truly adding value to your life? Or are they just riding the wave of your energy because you did the work? You see, that's not about building up walls and keeping everyone out. Absolutely not. Actually, quite the opposite. It's more about being true to yourself and what you are energetically available for. And the goal is to make yourself energetically available for the things that do light you up, that are aligned. And so you can have deeper connections with the right connections. Being energetically independent and sovereign is a whole lot different than having surface level boundaries. It just is. A surface level boundary is saying like, uh, I'm going to avoid people that have overtly toxic behaviors. Okay. Sovereignty and being independent is owning your own energy so fully that that confusion and that entanglement simply cannot happen because you are so strong in your integrity. When you're so rooted in your integrity and you're so freaking rooted in your own clarity and your own confidence, you don't need to build walls. You don't need to protect yourself because your energy field is so freaking strong. So your energy field is going to start naturally filtering what is not aligned for you once you make that commitment and that choice. So this isn't about having a rigid defense system or over identifying with fear. Or what if someone is going to come and steal my energy? Fuck that. Like, you don't live in fear. That's not who you are. You don't identify with the fear. This is about you being in deep resonance with who you really are and who you actually came here to be. Don't let yourself get pulled off and distracted by people, by social media, by God knows what. It's about knowing what is yours and what is someone else's without needing to justify or apologize or explain. What do you owe them? That kind of embodied clarity is so magnetic and is self protecting of your energy as it is and is so healing. Not just for you, but for others, because you are modeling that embodiment of loving yourself and choosing that alignment with yourself and showing up for you. So I hope that that helps a little bit. And if you really need help with this, I have a whole boundary healing session. So if you want to go to my website, it's on dgtwellness.com. You can book that or you can book a package with me and I'll help you heal this once and for all. And so you can stop letting all that get siphoned. Don't overcomplicate it, but really think about how much it's costing you to not have boundaries. Your energy is your biggest asset in life. If your energy is drained, if you're all over the place, you get pulled around and you feel like you are at life's mercy. And that costs you in a myriad of ways. It costs you money, it costs you energy, health. So it's time. Let's heal that. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want and like the video if you want, share with someone else who you know that this would really, really help them. And love yourself more. And I will see you in the next one. And keep in mind, the only way to book with me is through my website. So we'll talk to you soon. Bye.